Welcome to Inner Peace, Better Health, the space where the calm isn't just a feeling, it is a foundation of how we live, heal, and show up in the world. I am your host, Nazish, and today's episode is a gentle, deep dive into the inner architecture of well being. We are talking about meditation, the chakra system, the deep spiritual practice, not as an abstract concept or spiritual bypasses, but as a living tool that mentally support clarity, emotional balance, and even physical health. Our guest today is Stuart Perrin, an American spiritual teacher of Rudra meditation who has been teaching across the world for over 40 years. In his early 20s, Stuart traveled to Europe and North Africa searching for a true spiritual teacher. The search led him in 1967 to Swami Rudrananda, Rudy, whose teaching transformed Stuart's life. Rudy offered a meditation practice that developed the chakra system and made the mystical practical, something you could actually live with and not escape into. Since then, Stuart has guided thousands through meditation, retreats, and teaching, and has authored several profound books exploring how inner work transforms life tension into joy, love, and resilience. This episode is for anyone who senses that true health begins inside, in how we hold our energy, our breath, and our awareness. So, welcome to the show, Stuart.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. From decades of experience, how do you see the relationship between inner peace and physical and or emotional health?
Well, I discovered that most illness is a product of tension in people, where the tensions get so acute inside people that they begin to eat away at the very cell structure of the body. And most people do nothing, they take pills, but they do nothing to really build a system inside that's strong enough to transform the tension into what is, you know, an open heart, into love, into positive energy. And the meditation that I teach, and I've been practicing for a very long time, it really starts with the development of foundation inside. See, there's a thing in all of us called the chakra system. And, look, when I was younger, who knew anything about chakras? And today, every 9-year-old kid can talk to you about chakras. It's in the dictionary. It's a common word today in the world language. But yet, nobody really uses the tools that are available to develop this chakra system. They know the heart is a chakra. They know the third eye is a chakra. They know the throat is a chakra. But what they have to learn is how to use the tools that are available to them to build a chakra system, that's strong enough to transform the tension, the suffering, the difficulties of life into an open heart, into love. The ultimate goal is, to really live on the highest levels of our humanity, which is to live with an open heart, with love, with kindness, with compassion, and to be able to integrate that into our everyday activity. I can tell you an incredible story, about healing. And uh, years ago, I used to run a meditation center in Texas. And I had a woman who was a student of mine, and she had a 13-year-old daughter. And this 13-year-old daughter was probably the youngest person who ever attended a meditation class of mine. And what happened was I hadn't seen this woman or her daughter for maybe a year. They just disappeared from my life. And I got a phone call one day that the young girl was in the hospital. She's very sick. Can I please come immediately? So I ran to the hospital. And as I was getting off the elevator, she's talking to somebody, telling them that her daughter had, 3 weeks to live. She had a cancer that was so big inside her that the doctors, prognosed that she maybe had 3 weeks to live. So I went to see the girl. And the first question I asked her, I said, "Do you want to live?" And she said to me, "Yes." So I started doing this healing work with the transmitting of Shakti, developing in her the power to transmute this cancer into a positive energy. And this went on, I mean, it was unbelievable. It went on for 3 weeks. I was more than 3 months it went on. The doctors said she had 3 weeks to live. And it was all about building the core in her being. The chakra right below the navel, which is the power in a human being. Getting the heart to stay open and getting her mind quiet. And then allowing all that energy that was doing damage to her to move through the sexual chakra, where it was transmuted into energy that activated a spiritual force. And the things that were negative became positive. And all of that energy was transmuted. And this went on for 3, 4 months. We were doing this. I literally every day I would go to the hospital, I would go to where she was and do this meditation with her. After about 3 months, 4 months, the doctors examined her and they couldn't believe it. They said, no, we can operate on her. I don't know what happened, but this cancer is shrinking inside her. And they went and they operated on her, and the doctor came out of the operator dancing, a big smile on his face, saying, we got the whole thing. The cancer had begun to shrink and shrivel up inside her, and they were able to take out the entire cancer from this child. And what did that was the constant injection of Shakti, of energy, working to build the power inside this young lady and to truly help her system, transmute what was killing her into a life-giving energy. And this is all based on the development of chakras. And it's what I teach. I teach people how to transmute, how to change attention, the negativity inside themselves into an energy which is a life-giving energy. And it works in everyday life. It works in healing. It works in so many different areas that enable people to, they, instead of being an enemy to their karma, finding all the negativity that's making them sick and making them ill and getting them crazy, suddenly life becomes something they embrace. What is life teaching me? What is life teaching me about why have I attracted this disease? Why have I attracted this person who is just dumping a lot of negativity on me? What can I do about myself to fix myself that I no longer attract these negative energies? And that is really what meditation is all about. I always tell people meditation is not spiritual. It's not a spiritual life. Meditation is a craft. And you learn the craft. You learn how to use the tools of this craft. And the tools of the craft are the mind, the breath, the will to do it, and a deep inner need to have a spiritual life. When a person begins to utilize their energies that way, they can transform whatever problems they have into positive energy. It's just an amazing factor. And people have to, meditation, it's Hindu, it's Buddhist, I'm a Christian, I'm a this. And it doesn't matter. You could be Christian, Jewish, Islam, you could be agnostic, you could be an atheist. What every human being wants to live with is an open heart. They want to be happy people. And happy people are, they're like God's children on the earth. And that type of inner evolvement enables one to attain a state of spiritual enlightenment. The first thing is to build one's humanity. And that's basically what I learned from my teacher, from Rudy. He was the first guru I ever went to who showed me how to do it. He didn't just talk about love, peace, and eat vegetables. He showed me how to do it, how to use the tools that were available to me to transform. I was a really nutty, crazy young man. I was insecure, I was unhappy, I was chasing what I didn't know all around the world. And he showed me how to transform that, how to, take all of that tension and make it into an energy that works for me instead of against me. And that's basically what the healing process is all about. And to me, the ultimate healing is somebody becomes a happy person. God is love. You can live for, a half hour and die. And if your heart is open that way, you have healed yourself. That happiness, that love is really the healing factor. And I know that from the earliest periods of my life. When my father died, I talked about this a lot on podcasts. When I learned something very important from him, and it made me change my entire life. It made me begin to understand what had value in the world and what was just steps on my karma that I learned how to attain and get free of. I mean, I learned that about just about everything. So instead of it being terrible to be in the business world, to be in relationships, it became wonderful because every one of these things was teaching me what I had to learn to grow in my life and to build a deeper connection in myself with spirit. So, I mean, I've had lots of experiences like that. I mean, this 2 years I've had, and there were two people that had cancer that were students of mine, and they're healed. They're okay now, and I I don't understand it. The people ask me to explain. I don't understand. All I know is that it works. The healing energy is the Shakti transmitted that really opens the heart, builds foundation, quiets the mind, and allows people to connect with energy that's infinite in the universe instead of the mind just rattling away with all the conflict and the polarity. The heart opens and all that energy comes from the universe, and it really can heal people, help them grow, help them in their lives in a practical way. Because that's all I ever wanted in my life. How can I do this in a practical way? How can I live my life doing this and not just something that's some abstract idea that, can make me, spiritual? How can I use this practice? How can I be in business and use this Shakti, this energy to help me not be angry at the people that are trying to rip me off in business and learn from them, to learn something from them. What do I have to do to change this? I remember in India, I was in Jaipur. I'll never forget this. And I walked into a craft store in Jaipur, and I used to buy crafts and stuff like that in India and sell them in the United States. I did it for a long time. And I walked into this store, and there were about six, salespeople, and they saw me and they came running. They saw dollar bills, they saw money, when I walked in the door. And there's a big statue of Ganesh there, and I went over and I put like 100 rupee note by the statue of the Ganesh, and I did a little pranam, and they all came up to me. Are you a Hindu? And I said, no, no, I'm not. I just have a deep reverence for Ganesh. God has always been very important in my life. My spiritual grandfather was the incarnation of Ganesh, you know? And all of a sudden, these guys that were trying to put their hands in my pocket, they all started talking to me about their spiritual lives and their problems and their karma. And by the end of this meeting, every single one of them came up and gave me a big hug and said, "Thank you for coming to our store." And I didn't even buy anything from them. They just came up and gave me a hug like that. And it's just, we're all humans. We want to be treated like human beings. And we want somebody to talk to us with their heart open and not somebody that's just going to come do battle with us over money and, Maya and illusion and all this nonsense that goes on in the world that people think are going to make them happy and make their life better and really never does. You know, I've known many rich people in my life, and I'd never met one of them that's been happy. It was always the next deal and the next deal and the next money and the next investment. And you know, I, so what I'm saying is that it's very amazing for a human being to learn how to develop a system inside themselves that's connected with a higher force in the universe. And what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is to open the heart and to live with love, to live with kindness, to live with, and it takes a very strong person to live that way. It's like Mahatma Gandhi said, an eye for an eye, the entire world is going to be blind, and it's really true. But when people listen to each other, understand, and they learn from each other, why am I attracting this person and they're there to teach me something about me. How do I have to change so I can interact with this person and we can both learn something from each other? This is a healing process. And the only way I have learned to heal that is you got to build a system inside that enables you to live with your heart open.
That is absolutely beautiful. And this is something so, so unique. And, I literally have goosebumps right now listening to you talking about this. I hope many, many of my listeners can, get more about it. And it's just so beautiful.
So let me just show you something. I published this book about a month ago, 2 months ago.
All right. All
And this
right.
book, I've written a dozen books. They even published two of my books in Mumbai, years
Oh,
ago. Yeah, a
okay.
long time ago, it's the 10, 15 years ago, they published two of my books in Mumbai. And I used to teach in Mumbai. I had groups of people come. I was teaching meditation there on my trips to India. But this is a book
Mhm.
that I published, and this is probably one of the best books I've ever written. And if people want to find out what I do, they can get this book. I mean, Amazon sells it, and they sell it all over the world. And they can get this book, and it would give them a very deep insight into what I do, what I teach. We're getting an audible version done of it. We're getting the EPUB version of it done. And I just wrote this. And I always tell people, I didn't write this book. I was just a vehicle through which the book came through me. It was my teacher and his teacher that really, they wrote the book. It was their energy that made this book possible. So although I
Amazing.
crafted it and it came through me and my name is on it, it wasn't me who wrote the book. It was a higher force of energy that came through. And I'll tell you an interesting story. I have a housekeeper, and she was telling me about her father was sick, and when I got these books, I gave her a copy. She's a very dear woman and she's a good friend of mine. And I gave her a copy and she read it. And she came yesterday to clean my house. She and her group of her coworkers came to clean the house. She came up to me and said, Stuart, I can't tell you what this book has done for me. She said, all I want to do is give you a hug. Thank you. My mother wants to read it. I read passages of it to my father, who's very sick. And she said, God bless you for writing this. She said, let me give you a hug. It just really brought tears to my eyes. And I told her, I said, this is the reason I wrote this book, not to make a lot of money, but for what it's done for you. This is exactly the reason I wrote the book. And she looked at,
Amazing. I will make sure that I do get this book for myself as well because it sounds amazing.
yeah, you could get it from Amazon. They sell it. I think they have a place in India that online you can get it.
Yes, I will get it. So, Rudra meditation focuses on transforming tension rather than avoiding it. Why is tension so central to spiritual and physical health?
Well, tension it's just polarity, human conflict. It's insecurity. And it really comes about because people have not built a system inside that's strong enough to mollify it, to soften it, to make it into a positive. And it's just chaos. And most people live with chaos inside themselves. The mind is never shuts up. It yaks and yaks and yaks. It has all the answers and none of the answers at exactly the same time. The emotions are like quicksand in a person. Understand? And we get swept away in anger and fear, insecurity, revenge. We upset at people because they do things we don't like. And all of this is a matter of the lack of development in a person of a chakra system. Understand the real power in a human being is the chakra right below the navel. And when
Mhm.
great singers sing, They sing from the chakra below the navel. Dancers dance from the chakra below the navel. All the great athletes were in that zone where they're doing the greatest, they're centered here. That's where their power is. And they're not thinking about it. It's just this energy. And even the greatest works of art, the people that create them sometimes say, I don't know where this came from. It just came through me. I was a vehicle through which it manifested, in the world. And most people have no consciousness about that chakra. And that's the first thing I learned from my teacher, Rudy. The first thing he told me is, he said, bring the attention of your mind, the most powerful instrument you have, to the chakra below the navel. And the mind will act as a catalyst to open that chakra. As I said, and this is what he told me, the first thing. And the mind becomes like a surgical instrument, and it opens the very core of your being. And he said to me, the next thing is to breathe. Breath is life. Every time you inhale, you take in life. Every time you exhale, you are surrendering a part of yourself. So, a wonderful mantra called So Hum. And So Hum is so, when you inhale, you say so. When you exhale, you say hum. I am that. I am one with everything. I am. You take the breath in, you're taking all of life in, and you bring it into the heart chakra. It expands the heart chakra. Understand? But before you even do that, you have to have gratitude, because gratitude opens the door into the heart chakra. And then a little breath into the heart chakra will expand the heart chakra. Exhale, then you take another deep breath, you bring it down to the chakra below the navel. The breath is the power that expands, the prana, the energy that expands the heart chakra and the chakra below the navel. You're building the foundation, and you're opening the source of love, of joy, of happiness. And you're developing your humanity by developing the chakra system. Then the next step in all of this is to bring energy through the sexual area, because the sexual area it's the area where the male female principle unify. And I used to go to Kathmandu a lot years ago. There's a temple in Kathmandu called Pashupatinath, very sacred Shaivite temple. And there are about, I don't know, 50 statues there of a Nandi, a lingam, and a yoni, and a cobra. Well, in the 6th century, when they made those statues, they knew what I'm talking about right today. The Nandi represents the chi, the power in the 3rd chakra. The lingam and the yoni represent the union of energy that moves through the sexual area. That marriage of energy gives birth to Kundalini. And Kundalini is the pathway to enlightenment. I mean, in the 6th century, they made these statues that were telling people this. And you go to Pashupatinath, they're all over the place, these statues. So my meditation is based upon ancient Hindu and Buddhist principles. Go back very, very far. I mean, thousands of years that people were practicing this kind of inner work. And my teacher, Rudy, was a master because he was able to take this ancient teaching and apply it to living in the 20th century, living in this modern world that we live in, where we think everything is just kind of Looney Tunes. Everything is just crazy all the time. Well, he was capable of applying thousands of years of Hindu and Buddhist practice to living in a place like New York City. And like Mumbai or even Jaipur, Jaipur is a very busy place. Mumbai
It is.
20 million people live there, And when I remember when I gave talks in Mumbai, there were these old women and men would come up and they would kiss my foot and they would say, Baba, thank you for bringing back to India what we lost. I mean, it sent shivers through my body to hear people tell me that. And my teacher, Rudy, learned this in India.
Mhm.
America and was able to apply this to a Western teaching that the world has become such that there's nobody in the world today that can't understand this kind of thing. I mean, India has become, a very sophisticated place today. It's very different than it was when I used to go there 30 years ago, what is
Mm-hmm.
today. And he took that amazing teaching that they were carving those statues in Pashupatinath, the Nandi, the lingam and the yoni and the cobra. How do you apply this to living in New York City, living in Mumbai? And when I met him, he was the first person who ever showed me how to do this. Because I wasn't born in a Himalayan cave. I wasn't born in an ashram. I was born in the tenement district of the Bronx, New York. It was a cell, basically, you know? And I couldn't get with this whole aesthetic of going off and living. I ran an ashram once, but after 9 years of doing it, I said, I'll never do it again. People have to come, get their training, and they have to go out to life. They have to go out and allow that training to teach them how to embrace life. Life is the teacher, not Stuart. Stuart is there to train them in how to sit before the real guru. And the real guru is life. It is there 24 hours a day teaching us what we have to know to learn to grow spiritually.
Amazing, Stuart. So, if this has been an amazing, amazing conversation with you, and as we come close to finish up this episode, just tell us how can my listeners connect with you, learn more about your teachings, learn more about chakra management, meditation, all from you.
Well, first thing, it's all in this book. They can read this book. I'm not kidding you. It's all there.
Uh-huh.
And it's easy to read. It's in simple language. It doesn't use 150 different Sanskrit terms and things. It's very simple to read. Second thing is, look, I have a website. People can go to my
Mm-hmm.
website. It's stuartperrin.com. They can go there. I also wrote a book on Tantra, and it's all on my website. I never published the book. It's all on my website because I teach Zoom classes 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Not 7 day, but 7 times a week, and people
Mm-hmm.
register. I don't ask for money for this. I do it, and I tell people, look, there's no fee if you want to donate something because you're getting something according to what you can afford to donate. Donate. I don't have a fee. And I do
Wow.
this 7 times a week online, and it's available by people from Europe, from South America, come from all over the United States, from Central America, come. I'm very easy to find.
Amazing.
But
That is
I've always lived underground, and now I've been
that is
doing
so beautiful.
podcasts, I learned this amazing thing, and I want people to find out about it.
Beautiful. I will make sure to include all these details in the show notes so that many, many people can join it. And it is so amazing that you have these free of cost classes, and I believe it could help so many people. So beautiful.
Also, uh, I have no other purpose now in my life. I've been in business for 30 years. I once made a lot of money. I did all this stuff. And I finally said, no, it's enough. I said, I have to live my life doing service. Last story, okay? Uh, my teacher and I were sitting in a lecture that a Swami was giving, and he was talking about the guru is God. And if you worship the guru, you will get spiritually enlightened. My teacher sitting behind me, Rudy, he whispers in my
Mhm.
ear, God is God. The best the guru can be is the servant of God and the servant of his students. The humility of it was so profound and so deep that I have never forgotten that from the day he told me that. The guru is God, not God. God is God. The guru, at best, is the servant of God and the servant of his students. And my job is to help people learn how to build a connection in themselves so they can have their own independent connection with God. That's what I do. That's what my teacher Rudy did.
That is absolutely beautiful, and it is such an amazing conversation that I've had with you. And I'm pretty sure that many of my listeners are going to be so intrigued with amazed about everything we have talked today.
I hope so. I'm not looking to, to get a lot of students. I would want, if a handful of people come and say, I want to learn this, it would be a miracle. It would be fantastic.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, as we come close to today's episode, here's a gentle question to sit with. What would your health look like if you gave your inner life the same care as your outer body? Each day, take 5 to 10 minutes to sit quietly, bring awareness to your spine and breath. Gently notice your energy from base of the body upward without judgment, without forcing. Just observe. Let your system settle. Let your breath guide you. Let peace do its work quietly. If this episode supported you, please share it with someone who's seeking balance or healing. And do not forget to follow Inner Peace Better Health for more conversation that nurture both soul and body. Stuart, thank you so much for reminding us that inner peace isn't a luxury or a retreat from life. It is a foundation for living fully and healthily. And to
Okay.
everyone listening, remember, you don't have to fix yourself to be worthy of care. You don't have to rush yourself for healing to be on the right path. Inner peace is not a luxury, it is a pathway to better health. Until next time, take a breath, soften your shoulders, and remember the work you do inside quietly shapes everything outside. This is Nazish, and you've been listening to Inner Peace Better Health.